Thanks for Doug for inviting me. And originally we talked about some different topics in my talk, and then I called Doug about a week ago and told him, hey, I'm behind on life on everything for 2 weeks now. And he said, actually, you might have a better story to tell than what we intended to talk about. So here I am talking about the avalanche cycle. I'm just going to give, going to talk about how it looked from my perspective for the area I'm forecasting. So I'm forecasting for Highway 70, Loveland Pass, and Berthoud Pass in Colorado. I'm going to show you guys, try to get you guys familiar with my area, some of the consideration and the problem we ran into, some of the avalanches we saw, and I'm going to touch about notable event throughout the state of Colorado because it was a statewide event. Before I start, just I really want to thank pretty much everyone in our center. Gave some input and told some stories, and I used that throughout my talk. And the guys, the avalanche crew at Region 1 in CDOT, which is the Colorado Department of Transportation, those guys are great. They saved my day on a snowy basis, so thank for them. So our season wasn't a typical season. It took a whole season to create those big, what we call historical avalanche cycles. Typically we have snow starting in early October, and then it melts, and then again in November it starts picking up again, and we see more snow on the ground. It didn't really happen. What I show you guys is basically the sweep from snow-tail sites around my area of forecasting. So Berthoud Pass, Loveland Pass, and Copper Mountain, which is near Vail Pass. And what you can see, it started in early October and never really melts. So we start accumulating snow, and we got into December with relatively deep snowpack for us, which affect how the snowpack looked like in throughout the season. And the area I'm going to talk, the timeline I'm going to talk about is that spike in precipitation in very end of February, early March. So mid-February, we had pretty strong snowpack for us. Lower and mid snowpack was strong, can carry a lot of weight, which was unusual for us. And we started feeling pretty good about our snowpack. We might just be able to cruise to the winter, and no big deal, no problem, just operation as usual. And then early March showed up, and we got a lot of snow. We got about close to 6 inches of snow water equivalent, and for us it's a lot. For us, you know, if you're in the backcountry, you just don't go to the backcountry. If you know what's going on with the snow, you usually don't crawl from underneath your bed in many places. And we'll talk about that too. And so we had 3 large avalanches. They came fairly warm for us, warm and really, really sticky. Density was about between 10% to 12%. That's a lot for us. And I noticed the snow just stick to places where it usually doesn't stick. It was as simple as see it on the side of CDOT loader, where you usually don't see the snow stick. Stick to rock faces and really steep terrain where it's usually just slapped through the storm and relieve itself. And if we're looking at, this is my area, but as you can see, it's quite a lot. When we got that from National Weather Service, they actually had to change the scale. So you can see it's in between 4 and 8 feet of snow within that 2 weeks, that 1 week period. It's a lot. Northern San Juan got the lion's share of the snowfall, and they kept on going. The last storm was actually was mainly southern Colorado, so we got a little bit of relief a little earlier. And so this is this first storm. We start getting snow. We start getting ready. We know we see a lot of snow coming in the forecast. And the way we try to operate, we try to basically clean as much as we can to give us some buffer area so we can go and do mitigation when it's comfortable for us and not necessarily peak instability. Because we have big roads. We have I-70 see something like 35,000 vehicles a day on average during winter time. It's a big deal to close that road. We basically cutting Colorado into half. So we try to go early and be very proactive about it. Try to, if we have a big storm, when we have a chance, we're just going to go and cut the storm into half, what we call, or reset the storm. Just do avalanche mitigation when we think we probably don't have enough to hit the road, but we try to clean the start zone. So early sign was March 1st. We are doing avalanche mitigation on the Seven Sisters in Loveland Pass. And those are not big paths. But they are running to the road fairly frequently. What we use for this filming is actually night vision that we start using, so we can shoot at dark and minimize our impact on highway operation. And it looked like it went big. It went very, very big for this light path. Yeah, it came with some timber. It took CDOT about 4 hours to clean it. Typically, it takes them an hour to clean. And we're like, huh. Daybreak, we're looking at it, and just to give you guys an idea, that was about 2.5 meters, so just over 8 feet. The entire season snowpack just ran. This is as wide as it can for this light path. And I'm starting to think, I was like, we've seen this small path going basically wall to wall, as big as they can go. What happened when big paths starting to go? So we start thinking about, we might be going for a ride here. We might going to pick up. Sure enough, we're going to the other side of the path, and we start seeing avalanches, big avalanches, just natural going to the ground. Large portion of the slope, R4, we start looking at R4 and start realizing we might be in it for a ride. Again, another slide. And then on the third, we start to ramp up our operation. We're doing avalanche mitigation in a few places. So we have one crew working on Loveland Pass, another crew working around Eisenhower Tunnel. And I was in Vail Pass, trying to kind of keep the momentum, make sure things are small in our start zone. And we're feeling pretty good about it. Snow came, was really, really warm, sticky. And then at 10:30, can I go? I get a phone call. Someone said we have dust cloud on I-70 in a 10-mile canyon. And I immediately text this video. So it's a dust cloud. There's maybe an inch or two on the road. So just to familiarize yourself, you guys, 10-mile canyon, it's a pretty deep canyon going between Frisco and Copper Mountain ski area. It's northeast, west face canyon. On the southeast side has the 10-mile range. Pretty steep, cliffy area. A lot of vertical relief within a short distance. It's about 3,000 vertical feet from top to bottom. And what you see here is I-70, and on the southwest side of the canyon, and the bike path on the southeast side of the canyon. And this is what it looks like when you're actually there. Very complex terrain, a lot of very, very small start zones. And they all channel into a few main avalanche paths. So not easy area to take care of if you have a problem. And the reality is we don't really have operational method to take care of the 10-mile canyon. But we're not the first one that ran into that problem. Back in the early 1900s, there used to be a railroad over there, ran just below that bike path that we saw. So on the southeast side of the canyon, close just underneath those cliffs. And they had their problem too. And we do see big avalanches coming down in this canyon in the spring, but it's not, typically it's not a winter area. They didn't have the nice big machinery like CDOT, and they actually had to shovel everything. So yeah, there's a lot of pictures from 1898, 99. It was a big winter, apparently. 95, 96 was one of the biggest winter we have on record. Big avalanche cycle, and CDOT decided they're going to go and take care of it.
For your safety.
And,
Someone in it.
very impressive avalanche. It's really good avalanche viewing in that area.
We are all little kids, I guess, when you see the big avalanche coming. You bet. It's great. No, it was a great storm. It was a great storm. And we're going to...
So CDOT, they had a lot of avalanches. None of them hit the road. They realized they can basically go and heli-bomb that area for 2 weeks, and they're not going to clean the whole area. They might still have avalanches coming down. So they decided to call it off, and the general thought was they're never going to do it again, because closing I-70 is a big deal. If we can't really mitigate it effectively, then maybe we should think about how to go about it. So after we heard and saw those videos from the dust cloud hitting the road, we called the old-timers from CDOT and CAC, and we figured that we only know about 3 times that those avalanches actually dust the road in the last 27 years. We felt pretty good about it. The only time we know that avalanche actually hit the road in 10 Mile Canyon was just a small slide, just a small debris that made it to the edge of the road in 1983, which is the biggest winter we have on record that we're aware of, since we keep in record. So we felt pretty good about opening that road, keep it open. And that didn't last very long. Half an hour after that, we get aware of this video. So here we go. I get closer, and this guy starts backing up. Typically, you're not going to do that on I-70.
Ron, do you have the audio for that?
No. And this one popped up just shortly after that. And several more events, basically, we hear about. And we start wondering what's going on. Yeah. So at this point, I basically realized I see something I definitely never seen, and no one that I know actually seen an event like that. And I start feeling that this avalanche cycle definitely start to slipping out of my realm of expertise. And I wonder what we're doing next. And you start thinking about, where do I know about steep enough slope that can run to the road? And you know, and we communicate that to CDOT. It's like we have some special event here, and we're just starting. And we have some talk with CDOT. We talk about our concern. We talk about the chances that actually avalanche is going to hit the road. And we basically stress the point that the odds of happy ending when avalanche cloud engulf your car when you're driving 60 miles an hour in the canyon are diminishing pretty quick. What can we do? And the solution we came with is just to put those big signs, light signs, is like, hey, watch out, drive slowly. Be careful, be prepared to stop. If you see that thing in ahead of you, don't race into it. And we still felt pretty good about keeping the road open. You know, this is not destructive avalanche. It's not going to kill anyone. And sure enough, 5:30 in the afternoon, we get a call. We have avalanche to the road. And as you can see on the right side, pretty quickly people just rediscover the like of outdoor and just get out of the car, increase their exposure just exponentially, and start wondering about, you know, texting the friend, posting on Facebook, and playing Avalanche experts. And no one that have any idea about Avalanche don't even dare to play Avalanche expert at this point. And we go there, and clearly the first thing you want to do is just punch a hole in the avalanche debris and let all those people go, because state police and CDOT was waiting for us to figure out if it's safe or not. And I was like, well, the safest thing is to clear this piece of road and then think about what to do next. Those guys got pushed about 15 feet, just kind of slowly, very gently off the road into the area in between East Lane and West Lane. No damage to the people or the car. And you know, the reality when I talked to them and told them, you know, this piece of road, they haven't seen an avalanche since '83. They felt pretty special. And they're looking pretty happy about it. You know, the girl was really proud that she was the first one to saw it coming. The driver had some concern. He said, you know, I saw it coming, but I didn't know what to do. I'm going to accelerate. They're going to run into the guy in front of me. I'm going to stop the guy behind me. Going to run into me. I was like, well, you know, you got pretty lucky. The same day in Gothic, just south of us, north of Crested Butte, we had the first, what we think was D4, and basically destroyed a cabin. The San Juan, those guys did some mitigation on the road and got some really impressive results out of the Gothic group and Telescope group. So you can see the CIC trucks over there. A lot of timber. It took them for quite a few hours to actually punch a road so those guys can go home. And on the 5th, knowing that we're going to have those big storm and we have a few paths above the road that's really low frequency paths, but we don't have an efficient way to take care of them except heli bombing. We start talking to CDOT about closing the highway and doing heli mitigation about 10 days before this cycle started. So they're ready. We have a weather window, and we start doing heli bombing. And we did some work on Loveland Pass, and then we went to take care of Vail, which is I-70 just east of the tunnel. And pretty quickly, we realized that we got more than we were asking for. So this bypass actually have a couple diversion berms to take care of small avalanches. This is the first big avalanche this year that actually made it to those diversion. And it went through it. And this is what it looked like from the road. You can see this charge. That was the first charge we threw. And off she goes. Now, we don't have a record of avalanche like that covering I-70 under Berthoud. The cable you see on the right side, those are pretty strong cable. They're supposed to stop an 18-wheeler when they slide from going from from the westbound to the eastbound or the other way around. And you can start seeing them popping up like a zipper, those cables. So here are those cables actually got pulled to the other side. And cable is not pretty thick. It takes a lot of force to actually push something that thin across the highway.
And they're made to stop semis, right?
Yeah, they're supposed to stop semis, and they do stop semis. So that avalanche came with a lot of speed, a lot of force. This is what it looks like. From above, it went past the highway and went down into the creek, a long way into the creek. So this is where we are right now. This is just a general map of Colorado, Denver, Grand Junction, and off to Utah. So that's the main line of transportation for people trying to get across, and we just blocked that. The other main line of transportation into northern Colorado is through Berthoud Pass, this place, and that's where we're heading next. So on our shopping list is Disney. So Disney called Disney because in 1957, they had a photographer from Disney studio, Wayne Whitcock, and he and a guy from Department of Transportation, John Hammond, went to photograph avalanche mitigation, and they both told there's no chance in hell that avalanche is going to hit the road. And unfortunately, it did. They both died. Disney never really released that video to the public. They gave copy to CDOT and CAC for some education. If you look, there's two dots there. Those are mature trees. They're basically flying in the air. So that's the last time we know about Disney hitting the road, 1957. And for a good reason. If you see the start zone, they're not very big. The fetch area is not very big. It takes really special condition to make it go that big. And apparently that day, March 5th, those conditions exist. So down at the bottom, this is an aspen grove. In the last 30 years, no one saw it go, actually make it to that aspen grove. That aspen grove resides at the bottom of the sides of the road right now. See, we're very, very sharp at CAC. We realize we don't need to use another shot for that path.
Ron, what did you end up classifying that size-wise?
I'm going to talk about that, but it's 3.5, I would say. Yeah, you know, I never seen avalanches that big, so I really have a hard time to give you a good answer. And this is what it looks like, just to give you guys an idea. This is a CDOT loader. It's about 15 feet high, the top of it. So pretty big avalanche debris, a lot of timber. It was about 200 feet wide. And so this is what it looked like. It looks clean. Took 2 CDOT loaders about 4.5 hours to clear that avalanche debris. So this is where we are right now. We have I-70 was closed for about 12 hours. Took those guys to clean it, both lanes. And now we closed the second main route to western Colorado. So what they have left is basically go down south through Highway 50, which go through Loveland Pass, which is, you know, it's not a great day to travel through those areas. And we start to wonder, you know, we're having fun. We just having a blast. It's great. But you know, when you think about it, we're causing trouble here. And, you know, the brass at CDOT start to wonder what next. And sure enough, after seeing all those dust clouds, we decided to concentrate on our forecast area, and we want to go and take care of 10-mile canyons. So basically, I-70, Summit County is blocked from here and here. They can't go up here because they're going to get blocked here. And that's another nasty road. So we wonder, are we going to basically landlock Summit County? You can fly if you need to fly to Denver for medical emergency, or can we actually do avalanche mitigation? And, you know, so we said, we don't know, but we want to do it. So we had some conversation with CDOT, and they let us do it. And as you expect, basically, we have all those tiny star zones that produce really impressive avalanches. It's great avalanche viewing. It's just a really impressive vertical relief within a short time. Small avalanches running, creating all those dust clouds, really, really fast, really, really powerful avalanches. And then almost everywhere you throw a bomb, you're going to trigger avalanche like that. It looks great. It's like kids in a candy store. We can go forever. And just to give you guys an idea, at some point, CDOT started running out of explosives. So we started making phone call, and not just CDOT, all the ski areas start making phone call to explosive supplier, and it's starting to be a problem. So people started running and buying and ordering more explosive, as we should, just to keep up with the demand. And you start to wonder, how long we'll be able to pull it off like that. Again, you can see a dust cloud from a previous avalanche on the road, what it left. Another charge, another avalanche. So when we're looking at these avalanches, I just grab a frame from the previous video, and we're looking at the start zone on the release area. It's really not big. Those trees are, you know, they're not big trees. They're pretty small trees. It's above 12,000 feet above sea level. They don't grow very fast. They have pretty rough life. So it's pretty shallow. The area is not big, but those avalanches are not shy. They're going up, they're very, very destructive. They're picking up speed really, really fast. And when you think about the D scale, we tend to measure destructive force to try to quantify the size of the avalanche as far as volume. which didn't really work here because we're talking about those pretty small avalanche volume-wise. And look at this avalanche. You'll see trees coming down. You can see the explosives. The bomb went up, and you start seeing avalanches kind of coming around the corner. You start seeing picking up, and trees are coming down. So relatively destructive avalanches with not that much volume. This is an accumulation of quite a few avalanches, but they're taking down really big trees and carrying them a long way. Just to give you guys perspective, this is Rose. She's the Wisen girl. She is not a big girl by any stretch of the world. She's actually tiny by C-dot scale. And those trees flying high too. So we made friends with a lot of people, including the power line company. Again, those avalanches basically crossed the creek and made it a long way. We didn't hit any of those avalanches actually hit the road. So, we figure we don't really get more with more shooting. We don't really mitigate all those dust clouds potentially. But we're having fun, but at some point you need to cut it off. That was the end of that day. We cut it off. The same days in the San Juans, if you guys are aware of the Red Mountain Path, they got really big avalanches again. This is West Riverside. If you can see the sunshed here, basically got filled all the way to the top, packed with snow from avalanches running on both sides. This is one of our forecasters, standing there with a tree so we can see him. March 6th, we have a break in the weather, and we had to go and start taking care of some equipment. Some of our GASX unit need to got basically stop functioning as much as well as they should be. So we had to go and take care of that. We had to go and turn up some oxygen bottles on our systems just to make sure we have enough gas available to keep on rolling through the storm. And apparently, it wasn't just a lot of snow on the instrument. There was actually a lot of snow on the ground. This is about 7 feet deep. Those are big oxygen bottle. This is the shed. It's 8.5 feet high. So we're seeing a lot of snow. And then March 7 rolled in. The night of the 6th and the 7th, a lot of snow, very, very intense precipitation. We got something between 1.5 to 2 inches of SWE overnight. So for us, it's a lot. And the day started for me at 10 minutes to 1 in the morning when I got a phone call from CDOT. And the operator was complaining about slough avalanches going down in Vail Pass. Where we have the Vail Narrow, we have those cliffs that slough avalanche goes. We usually have a berm, a snow berm that catch all those small slides. It was full and didn't catch anything. So they called me at night and I said, well, can we close it? I'm on my way. I'll come and take a look. And I was like, oh, we don't know, it's I-70, it's night, we'll see. We'll let you know what we can do. And sure enough, 10 minutes later, the call was like, yep, big avalanche ran. West band is closed. We're going to keep the road closed. And I was like, great. And I go there, and, as always, it's downhill coming around the corner. People don't really see, and we have a vehicle just ran into the avalanche debris. At that point, we're calling CDOT, and that's a different crew coming from Grand Junction. We had avalanche mitigation scheduled, and I just called him and asked him, well, can you get out of bed now and come? And they're pretty good, so we have mitigation scheduled for daybreak. The day we do mitigation, we use case charges, basically big bombs, at the bottom on the far side of the road. We use the air blast to clean those cliffs, and then we hike around and use upper start zones. So they show up, and we're doing the lower part, and as it turned up, it was a little too early in the morning, and they didn't come with explosive to take care of the upper start zone. So see that working on that, and the guys woke up, the backcountry guys, and decided to call it extreme that day, which seems pretty appropriate. Basically, everywhere it was steep enough to slide in between Silverthorne and Eisenhower Tunnel ran. Everywhere on the west side of Berthoud Pass, where we can see ran. Everywhere, well, later in the day, everywhere in between Copper Mountain and Leadville, which is Highway 91, which we touch on later, basically ran throughout the day, and as big as it can. Actually, almost bigger than it can. So that was a good call. At 7:30 in the morning, we had avalanches running up around Copper Mountain, just on the southwest edge of 10 Mile Canyon, and ran and broke a gas line of Excel on what we call the poop chute, because it's above water treatment plant. We went down there. We were going to do avalanche mitigation and one the exit from the highway where we have a bit of a slope, and somewhere up towards Leadville area, and everything smells like propane, just really strong smell. So we decided maybe we don't want to set explosive in that area, which in hindsight probably could have saved us a lot of trouble and work later in the day. So here we are, being pretty picky about where we can shoot. The same day, this is peak one. What you see is Frisco, just on the other side of 10 Mile Canyon. So we have a brand new slide path, really big, take really old timber, ran a long way. Just to give you, orient you guys, this is on the other side of the 10 Mile range. So we're dealing with some problem on with the northwest side of this range and the southeast side of the range. So there is no aspects you can run away from those avalanches. They're running big, they're running everywhere. This is a little better picture. No credit because you're not supposed to fly drones in that area. Yeah, we got a lot of good footage that people didn't want us to use. So as it turned out, we look at some historical record. And this is not the first time that place seen avalanche. I don't know if you guys can see it. Here you can actually see that kind of banana shape. This picture is from 1899. So we don't know when this avalanche happened, but it happened more than 120 years ago, the last time it ran that big. So we're pretty impressed. The same day we had first avalanche fatality of that specific cycle. That was Mechanized skiing guide, basically got buried in big avalanche in Jones Pass. And in the afternoon, we start hearing about slide path that we never knew can reach the road, hitting around Leadville. This is Buckeye B. You can see this picture is from 96, the spring of 96. We had a big avalanche cycle over there. It didn't make it to the road. You can see Google Earth. It's definitely had some more growth in it. And this is the picture from the road. Basically, it ran through the road with a lot of timber. We start to wonder what's next. This is getting serious because it's getting late in the afternoon, and that's my road home. So I'm starting to get a little concerned. Later in the afternoon, just avalanches stopped looking like the nice, fluffy, friendly white avalanche you used to see. They turn into really brown and angry looking. Carry a lot of ground with it, a lot more timber. All of a sudden, it just was a bump in avalanche size. It seemed like going deeper and bigger. And again, this is the southwest side of 10 Mile Canyon. Really small path, but they're running very, very big with a a lot of mature forest just dragging with them. So we start thinking, what's going on here? It doesn't look like it's really storming during the day. Most of the snow fell overnight, but I guess it just got it to the edge, and just the little we got throughout the day, not too much wind, not too much additional snow, just kind of brought it over the edge. Later in the day, around Copper Mountain, so again, this is 10 Mile Canyon. This is Highway 91, just go south to Leadville. We have a set of Avalanche Pass that we called the Sky Chute, so because if you squeak a little bit and work your imagination, it's actually spelled sky. So we call it the Sky Chute. And just to give you guys an idea, they don't run to the road. We see backcountry slides in the air, people coming from Breckenridge, which is on the other side of the ridge, the ski. So the Y chute, this one, it's just over 1,100 feet from the road, a lot of mature timber. But that was a special day. So 4:30 in the afternoon, we get a call. Y chute ran to the road. So it's basically went way beyond what we know it's capable of running with a lot of energy. Buried 3 car, a lot of mature timber. So this is the first car. The guy behind, it's just a backcountry skier, just jumped on his car and pulled the lady out of this Jeep out. She was a little stressed out, but no one had actually major injuries. And that's when, avalanche forecaster need to be lucky too. Good, not always good enough. Second vehicle was a Subi. So what you see here next to the trooper is one of the driver's side rear wheel. Here, this is the driver's side door. That's the guy that called 911. Trooper was there. They just ran up with the guy. They opened the door and pulled him out. And the third vehicle is here. Very appropriately, Chevy Avalanche. Who would have thought? That's the window basically blew out of this car. It was this pickup. It was full of snow, and the guy just crawled out with the help of the troopers. And a lot of mature trees. For us, that's a huge tree. That's well over 100 years old tree.
Does insurance cover avalanche in the car?
So the guy in the Subi was, when we talked to him, he was conversation with the insurance company. And you'll be surprised what it looked like. You'll see in a second. So after, 3 or 4 hours, they digging out. They got to the point where you can pull that track. And you see all this timber, and you wonder how lucky everyone, just minor cuts and stuff like that. Yeah. And a few more hours after that, here's a Subi. So just see how high it is above the ground. The avalanche went through, plowed through all those trees, lift up and flip that Subi. Yeah, if you wonder what a Subi print in the snow looks like, here you have it. So at this point, we had Bex and Jason basically went on the other side of this avalanche debris and confirmed that everything that we can see basically slid. We're still worried about dust clouds running into 10 Mile Canyon because they keep on trickling in. And we had some people say, we just need to close everything and wait because we just have no idea what comes next. And We talked to CDOT. We went through all the avalanche path and the road stretches we're taking care of. We told them what we think and gave them a long list of caveats. And the brass at CDOT said, okay, we open everything. So here we are opening everything. And you know, you think about those guys, we're working hard and try to be as efficient as we can. And we're doing avalanche mitigation, and 15 minutes later, you have a jackknife semi-trail close the road for 4 hours. So they have other problems to deal with, you know, not just avalanches. One thing is the beauty of extreme avalanche danger, if it's well appropriated and well thought out, it's a short-lived event, because within a short time, you're just going to run out of avalanche paths to run. They all ran. Which was the case for us. It was actually pretty nice. And then March 8th, again, we have a time, another break in the weather. This is above a basin. So we're really worried about that. We couldn't trigger avalanches with howitzer. So those guys, they basically volunteered to get some backs to go and hike big case charges up. This is the Black Widow, or the Widowmaker. And it goes down. They put 5 30-pound charges and triggered at the same time. I'm sorry I had to do some work on that video to make it a little better, so the sound is off. But here she goes, and A Basin wasn't open that day. Yeah, it was about 30 feet deep, 300 feet wide, a lot of timber. Took CDOT and A Basin together. The rest of that day, the night after that, and half of the next day to open the road. Ryan Zader, which worked with me, is very, very, very good forecaster. He actually, at that point, elected to leave his car on the upside part of the avalanche debris and get landlocked for the day, which was pretty smart. So. At the same time, Twin Lake, just south of Leadville, big avalanches just start rolling in, and that's Independent Pass. It's typically closed for the winter. We have this slide path is actually, we didn't have it in our atlas, so it was new for us that you can actually make it to the road. It's pretty flat. It's about 20 degrees slope avalanche path. Ran about 200 feet past the road and left a lot of timber. One notable tree was a conifer about that wide that, you know, hopefully someone's going to go and actually count how many rings they have at some point. We recommend that those guys go home, but someone else is home. Basically clear the town. After a few days, reopen most of the road. But told people we recommend they're not going to drive on the road in those, you know, past the town. They went on their own risk. One area we didn't open, and that's basically left the caretaker of the Grizzly Reservoir locked into their house, which became a serious emergency when they realized they're running short on tobacco and cigarettes. So at that point, we got a lot of pressure to open the road, and eventually did. The morning of March 9th, we were somewhere in between around 4.5 inches of SWE and about half an inch since the 7th. Since things started to get pretty serious. A few things that happened. It was Excel, big main transmission line went down at somewhere in 2:30 in the morning, just took down the power line. They're very concerned about that. We actually didn't know about it till later. And then we started to pick up, so I wanted to open Loveland Pass, get some traffic moving a little more efficiently. And mitigation result, again, we shot at night. We didn't have visibility to use the night vision, but it seemed like we got really impressive results on the Seven Sister, unusually big results. And here you can see about, well over 20 feet deep, 750 feet wide. Look like a lot of mature trees. And one interesting thing is that the reading from one of the GASX units started to be kind of weird. It looked like we ran out of oxygen all of a sudden. So this is what we call Sister One. If you can look at it, this is the exploder and the shelter. And if you look good, we're going to zoom in and look good. You can see that the oxygen farm that actually feed that shelter is just attached to the side, is not really attached to the shelter itself anymore. When I start thinking, like, that went really, really big. And typically, avalanches run here to the side of that exploder. Here went all the way around. This is about 20 feet deep. So it went big, bigger than we were hoping, obviously. And this is what it looked like when you start actually going up there. You see the shelter is really, really buried. There are oxygen tanks just scattered across the slope. Good times. The same on the 12th in Lake City. We have the sheriff's house basically went down in an avalanche. This is what it looks like, just to give you guys reference. Those colors on the trees reference to those trees. It used to be a house, 3-story house, and it went down. Pretty interesting story altogether. This is what the house looked like. Can we go back? So, pretty nice looking house. A pile of wood. The sheriff used to live, was in the top story, and his 2 daughters were sleeping here. The sheriff just got a text just before that avalanche happened, and he was texting back, and he heard this whoomph. And he think, roof avalanche. It wasn't roof avalanche. His younger daughter was, she woke up and heard that whoomph too. The older daughter just kept on sleeping. And the story, as the sheriff tell it, he was texting, and all of a sudden he was engulfed in snow, and he started swimming, and then crawling and walking on 4, and eventually he found himself here. So they had 2 cars parked here in this area. You can still see them. He goes into the car, changed to clothes warm that we had spare in his car, called the radio, called for help. Go out, start screaming. His younger daughter was here underneath this wall. She answered back. He goes and dig her out. And she described it as basically she was flying in the air and eventually landed in snow, cover all around, maybe an inch or 2 around their body everywhere. So they got her. Rescue team came and they just start calling the older daughter. She was unconscious for a while, and eventually she answered them. That's how they find it. They don't really use probes or anything else. They just call people. So the older daughter, she got unconscious. All 3 of them went to the hospital, but they're alive, and they have a good story to tell. When the rescue party just went off the canyon, another big avalanche, we think was D4, went down and basically separated the rescue. The two last cars basically got stuck on the other side of the avalanche. And this community got rocked pretty hard. We do look for the road over there, so Mark Bueller go there every now and then and actually record what happened. We don't know, we don't have any record of the houses around there and what the avalanche problem. So those guys start seeing gremlins around every corner. They want to go and blast everything. And that's, Ethan has that basically discussion with those people, which we have with quite a few people along the cycle, is if you're actually worried about your property and you see those kind of avalanche, your best course of action is just to go for a few days and then come back when you stabilize. If you're going to go and poke the dragon, it's probably going to destroy your house. So go and do avalanche mitigation in the middle of a cycle like that in place you never mitigate in the winter. It's might not be the best course of action to keep your property in good shape. On the 12th, the south got a little more snow than us, so they still keep getting more impressive avalanches. Cottonwood Pass Road out of Buena Vista. Usually don't see tons of snow, don't see that much avalanches. And yeah, we had a few big avalanches just crossing the road and leaving a lot of debris. And if you wonder what it looked like driving around Colorado these days, this is what it looks like. And it smells like evergreen, so great. We have quite a few people waiting anxiously for the summer, mainly fire stove owners.
Where's that, Ron?
That's Highway 92 by Twin Lake.
Is that across from Star Mountain?
Yeah.
The-
In the community of the sheriffs, is there avalanche zoning in there that's taken place over the years, or was it just, oh, you're fine, it's never gonna happen?
Over there, it's never gonna happen. It's
So there wasn't any zones that required there?
there might be zoning, but it didn't take into account event like this. Yeah. So the overall toll is we have 2 fatality, 1 mechanized guide, 1 roof avalanche fatality. Another guy that was helping the guy that unfortunately died out of a roof avalanche got critically injured. We know of 2 houses that got destroyed. One of them was the sheriff and his 2 daughters that got injured and in hospital right now. We know about house structure damage that got damaged. 2 cabins that we know of got damaged. Maybe there are more power lines damage under the sky chutes, obviously, and again that main transmission line that we talked about. We have damage to some of our equipment. Actually, it's a little more extensive than what you guys saw. And Red Mountain Pass was closed for 18 days. Yeah. I'm going to touch about a couple of personal takeaway of what I think I learned and didn't forget yet from that event. Basically, R scale and D scale. D scale, again, seems to be very slope dependent. Small slope can produce some really destructive avalanche. So I looked at it a little differently. I look at it a little differently these days. About how I quantify it. Our scale on the other side, on the other hand, is it's normalized scale. So it helps us really figure out we might be off for a ride really early on and try to communicate that to CDOT and get ready for the avalanche cycle. It's once you start seeing small slide go as big as they go, as big as they can, you can try to apply it to bigger avalanche path, which we, at least I am personal level, obviously fail. I didn't expect it to be as big, but help you to capture the magnitude of what you are standing against to a little earlier. About surviving this thing. So I typically go, I'm assuming the worst. I'm from Israel. That's the way it works for us. Helps me to survive throughout big cycles or a bad event. I go to bed, I think, what's going to go wrong tomorrow? And usually I'm wrong. Different things go wrong, which another thing that goes wrong. But it helps me be prepared. I'm not getting too stressed up and too, thinking about, oh my God, the skies are falling, because I'm assuming something going to go wrong. And when you're looking at the system that we're dealing with is, it's us, the forecaster, and then the CDOT crew that we're working with, and the CDOT that we're not working with, and the road, and all the equipment, and all the material, and all the people that just driving on the road aimlessly, and you keep on beating on it, that system, something gonna break. So help me at least be a little more calm with those situations, and help me be ready to come up with solution, even if not something I thought about from beginning. Decision fatigue, and for me, it's really, it's not a new thing. It's as we go and make a lot of decisions throughout the day, the quality of our decisions just deteriorate. And as you probably know, again, unless you're from Israel, people are going to stand in line to give you their 2 cents and what they think, but no one's going to help you make those decisions. You're on your own. And those big days, your decisions are just not as good at the end of the day as early in the morning. For me, the most obvious example, I just stopped to take a picture of Avalonche, and I didn't even think where I stopped, and I stopped just to the side of a big slash paddle with the window open, taking picture, and 18-wheeler just came and sprayed the hell out of me and the inside of the truck. I could have gone 100 feet away and just perfectly be in a good place. So I didn't think about it, just bad decision. So what I do, I try to make my decision early in the morning. I sleep on what I think going to go wrong overnight and help me to make good decisions. I try not to make decisions I don't have to. So during those days, I have lunch, the same lunch every day. I don't need to think about what lunch I'm going to pack. Clothes, it's the first thing I can find in my drawer. I don't need to think about that. So I just take off all the decisions I really don't need to do in the morning. And then I use momentum. I try to make the decision for the day early and one after the other, so I don't have to start thinking about more decision. And I modify it a lot. It's not like I make a decision in the morning and never change. It's usually I modify it throughout the day, but it's easier. I try to stay fueled. But really the most personal takeaway for me is a larger coffee mug. That's critical. Or even if you want to do better, this. So thank you.